What's up, Vikings fans? Before we get into today's news and rumors, me and producer Patrick want to know, who is Mr. Mankato so far from Vikings training camp? I'm eager. I'm ready to see your answers, so please spam them down in the comments. You're watching Vikings Now. Mitchell Renz from Chat Sports, and coming up here on today's show, we're going to go through and we're going to look at some rumors. We're going to talk about training camp. One of my fantasy sleepers gave me a freaking heart attack today. We'll talk about what injury ended up going down, and luckily it seems like everything is okay. And I got a really fun comparison that I think a lot of you guys are going to like. And if anybody wants to chime in on their thoughts about Deshaun Watson, that's going to be at the very, very end of today's show. But let's get into the very first story here. Danielle Hunter. The moment that he came into the NFL, he was automatically one of my favorite players because you could see that the talent was there. The work ethic was there. The only thing that has derailed his unbelievable start to his career have been the injuries. But Hunter recently spoke and said that he believes that he can break Jared Allen's single-season sack record. I love Jared Allen. I mean, he literally is the reason why I wanted to get a 69 jersey when I was a little kid in college, and I was a little immature, weren't we all? But it was his ability to just be this freak of nature, a great competitor, and I've always respected Allen because he was not highly recruited whatsoever, right? Here's the thing, though. Hunter is finally healthy, which I like. It's also the offseason, which this fires me up because in the offseason, I like the hype. I am the person that's like, oh, you want the Kool-Aid? I'm like, you know what? Give me another scoop of the powder of the Kool-Aid because that's what I want to see. I want to see my players going out there saying, hey, I'm going to get 22 sacks. I'm going to get 23 sacks. You don't want somebody out there like, man, I hope I get 10 sacks this year. If Danielle Hunter came into the locker room and said, I'm hoping I get 10 sacks, it's a good year. They're like, bro, your expectations are way too low. So if he wants to break this record, I figured I'd walk you guys through some of the other numbers here in terms of the most sacks by a Vikes player in a single season. Allen back in 2011 had 22 sacks, also my freshman year in college. Chris Dolman, 21. Keith Millard, 18. John Randall, and then look at there, Jared Allen one more time. From a career standpoint, you could definitely make the argument he's up there with one of the best, if not the best defensive lineman to ever put on a Vikes uniform. 136 career sacks in 187 games played, 648 tackles, 32 forced fumbles. But Chat Sports programming is all about the interaction, and I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. So every single person that comes across this show, you're about to get hit with the YouTube ad break. So while that ad is playing, because it helps us out, scroll on down in the comments section and let me know, who's better, Danielle Hunter type DH or Jared Allen type JA? No disrespect to Danielle. And if I had to guess, I'm going to say 75% of the votes are going to come in for Allen, and then the 25% are probably just a little bit of the younger generation, which is totally fine. Hunter's an incredible player, and I can make the argument when fully healthy, his upside is absolutely there with Allen. But Danielle's going to get the extra year, but if you could tell me at their peaks, I'm going to take Jared. From a career standpoint, though, Hunter, in his first 6 years in the NFL, he's been pretty freaking good. Now, yes, he missed 2020, had that injury scare there ultimately, but last season, still battled some injuries, but in a limited game sample size, 7 games, still had 38 tackles, 6 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. I believe Hunter can do it. It's just, 23 sacks in a season is definitely not the easiest thing out there. Coming up next here on Vikings Now, we're going to find out who has been impressing at training camp. And this has been a name that I know I personally have talked about a few times here. I know on an NFL Daily show that I did over at Chat Sports, I said one of the most underrated signings was this player. And I'll tell you who that is in just a second. But I do want to say this. I know you guys probably are sick and tired of us saying, hey, hit that sub button. But I want to congratulate all y'all, so take a second. If you want to catch the clap, please do so. We told you, if we hit 5,000 subs, we would show you guys a little bit of love. And obviously, we keep you up to date with training camp news and rumors. But on top of that, I want to get to know you guys better. And I want to get to know, what we do here at Chat Sports a little more. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for helping us get to 5K, and let's keep this thing going. In terms of who are some of the new people that help us reach this benchmark, major shout out to Crash, Dragu, Dan, Jaden, Soldier Soup, much, much love out there. And if you could, send that link to somebody that you know is a Vikings fan. And let's keep this thing going. Let's talk about Harrison Phillips. He was signed to a 3-year, up to $19 million contract. And this was just one of those moves where I was like, Phillips up there in Buffalo, maybe it's not the biggest name, but he's a big old dude, and he's going to fill the defensive line. And I'm still a big believer that you can win in the trenches. He looks good in training camp, but what got me excited was anytime that you talk about a player and anytime you see somebody who's, interviewed, I like when a grown man acts like a kid. When Harrison Phillips was talking about putting the pads on, it was like his face lit up. And don't get me wrong, if I was over 300 pounds and I was built the way Harrison Phillips was, I like to put on pads too because I'm going to push some people around instead of just hitting a dummy. And when you talk about the biggest weakness right now, I think for this Vikings defense, I see it as being the defensive tackle room, that defensive interior. So the fact that Phillips is out there hitting people, check out this picture we got from training camp. It's really, really fun, and it's really cool to see some of these players out there working, especially the new signed guys, because not that I know everything about certain players, but when you bring in these new dudes via free agency, via the draft, I want to see the fit. I want to see how they look in a Vikings jersey. And last season, I thought he played pretty well. 51 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery. And as a big man, you do a lot of the dirty work. You take on a lot of double teams. Giggity. But if you can still come away with a solid run stopper, still come away with somebody who's going to be able to fill those extra gaps, that's going to go a long, long way, especially when you run a 3-4 and you got a big body up there being that nose tackle. When we continue to go here on some of these updates, Chris Thomason was the one who broke the news about Harrison Phillips. He said the Vikes are off from practice today and don pads for the first time in training camp. Defensive tackle Harrison Phillips is excited about putting on pads. I think that's just when the childhood joy of the game comes back, he said. If you're still getting up there in age, have played in the NFL a little bit, and you can still feel that excitement's there, I love seeing that. And I don't know what type of production he's going to put up this season. If I had to guess, in a 3-4, you're hoping that he can get somewhere between 35 tackles would be my guess. Dalvin Tomlinson, he really needs to step up this season. I want to see more out of him. I thought he would be a lot better of an addition last season coming over from the New York Giants. And I'm joking when I say this because, we were talking about Danielle, we were talking about Jared Allen, and when I think of the best, arguably one of the best defensive lines of all time, like when I talk to my Uncle Steve, big Vikings fan, my dad, he's like, probably some of the most intimidating people out there were the Purple People Eaters. And, I'm going to make a joke. Are they back? The answer to that is no. But you're hoping that this defensive interior can go back and instilling a little bit of fear. Though I feel like as soft as the NFL is now, Purple People Eaters, man, they'd have to go vegan because I don't think it would work out. So comment below. Scale it for me 1 to 32. I want you to rank the Vikings defensive line in the NFL. 1 being it's the best defensive line in all football. 32, it's the worst. I don't think if you include between the defensive ends and the defensive interior, your top 10, but there is some serious upside there with a guy like Danielle Hunter and Phillips. All right, y'all, if you haven't already gotten a jersey, we've been launching these things for days, maybe even a week or two. We have sold quite a bit, and I'm just going to warn you, if you want some of these great deals, you do have to take advantage of it quick. Go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. If you want to get a Danielle Hunter, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson jersey, they're Nike, they're high-quality jerseys. Also, one of my favorite things about our sponsor is this. If you buy a player's jersey and that player gets traded, there's something that's called jersey insurance. You can actually get your jersey 100% replaced. I know, it's pretty freaking cool. So go in the comments section. You can also see in the description. It's chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. All right, let's go now to a Vikings injury update. And have you ever had something happen to you in your life where you're like, oh, crap, and your heart kind of sinks there for a second? Well, I have this player and almost every single fantasy football draft that I've done because I'm a believer. If I don't get George Kittle, Darren Waller, or Travis Kelce, I'm going to be the last guy that takes a tight end because I'm going to try to find value. And my value tight end this year has been Irv Smith Jr. So when I saw this come out, that Smith was leaving practice with a possible injury, considering the fact that all the injuries that he's already had in his young career, I was like, man, what the hell is going on? It's August 1st. You guys are killing me. Luckily, Irv Smith was able to return to the sideline still with his pads on, didn't have a helmet, We'll see if he can get a status a little bit later. We'll probably update you if something does come out. But I know this. If it would have been a serious injury, he would not still been out there with pads. He would have been in the trainer room. They would have either had him on a bike with some ice. I think it's just a precautionary thing. They know Irv Smith is going to be a key piece of this offense. And if you want to go from being a, fringe top 10 offense to a legitimate top 10 offense, you need Irv Smith to be out there. So I think he looks okay. It's also good in the football field, but something to keep an eye on. All right, we're going to finish this with, I know this is the Vikings show, but at Chat Sports, Vikes Now, whatever you're doing, I think it's important to talk about top trending topics going on around the National Football League. And even though Minnesota does not go up against Deshaun Watson, does not go up against Cleveland this season, maybe you're hoping to meet him in the Super Bowl. I don't know. But I know this. Deshaun Watson was suspended 6 games by the NFL, and this has been a very, very popular topic on all of social media, on television as well, and it's going to be a popular topic, hopefully, in the comments section. So what's your one-word reaction to the Deshaun Watson suspension of 6 games? Because for me, I think it's sad. I think it's embarrassing. I could throw out a few other one-word reactions because when you really think about a 6-game suspension, when there's over 25 allegations against him, it's a very, very sad and pathetic day in the National Football League.